Welcome to the Empower Series Online. For those of you who don't know, my name is Clifton Johnson. I'm the founder and the executive director of the Empower Series Incorporated, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization brought to you by the generous donations of Comerica Bank, AE Media Group, and all of our viewers in the United States and around the world. Thank you. For those of you who want to find out more about the Empower Series, connect with us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, definitely YouTube. You can like, share, comment. Don't keep us a secret. Share us with other people. The only way people are going to find out about the Empower Series is if you share it with them. So please connect with us on social media. You can check out our website as well, www.empowerseries.com. There you can find out more about our organization, the programs that we provide. You can look at previous events. And if you're so inclined, you can make a donation, which will be greatly appreciated. So thank you. Today's program is going to be on home ownership. June has been designated by the White House as National Homeownership Month, really encouraging people to take the steps necessary to prepare themselves to purchase their first home. Because owning a home is still part of the American dream. It's the way you create wealth and you pass it on to future generations. However, for many of Americans, especially people of color, owning a home has been specifically hard to do because of discrimination. Since the passing of the Fair Housing Act in 1968, when you look at the percentage of home ownership of people of color, it has not really changed beyond 40-some%. So in the mid-40s is what the percentage of home ownership was in the 1970s. And as of the first quarter and the second quarter of 2021, percentage is the same. So what the Empower Series is doing with this program, with everything that we're doing, is to really affect and to change that, to give you hope, inspiration, education, and connection to resources so that you can achieve the American dream. The first thing I want to do is to let you know that we've been doing this since 2011 in partnership with Comerica Bank. If you go to our YouTube channel and look at our playlist for home ownership, you can go back and look at all of the programs that we've had since 2016 on home ownership and talk about the home buying process. So if you go there now, you should be seeing this on the screen. You can look at any program. In the description is a download of a sheet that talks about the home buying process. There's actually 11 steps, and it's very simple to do. And actually, it's so simple. I'm going to tell you about a story of someone that I met back in May of 2018. And the only Empower Series workshop that she attended was this one in June of 2018. Then she pretty much ghosted us, right? I didn't hear from her again until November 2019. And when I heard from her, she said, "Clifton, I've been meaning to tell you, I actually did what you guys told me to do. I followed the process and bought my first home." And I was like, "What? Get out of here. You should have told me." So her name is Mechi. And this is where I met her back in May of 2018. I went to this job fair at the Highland Hills Library. So you're asking, what is the Empower Series doing at a job fair? That's a whole nother question. But I think the whole purpose was to meet Mechi because she was there. She was a recruiter, giving people an opportunity to find a job for the company that she was working for at the time. But she had never heard about the Empower Series and never heard of Dennis Kimbrough, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who's the author of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. So you can see her there holding the book that she purchased. And that was the reason I met her. I also told her about our program in June, which was on home ownership. We had a real estate agent speaking, and we had a representative from the city of Dallas talking about their down payment assistance program, where there's resources to assist you at various levels to help you get into a home. And so she went to that program. You see on the flyer for it. We did a lunch and learn on a Friday, and then we did a workshop at the library that we were just at. And since then, that program, I didn't hear from her for like a year and a half. I was like, "Girl, you ghosted me. What's up?" Maybe that was it. The only purpose was to give her the inspiration and the hope to take action. I didn't run into Mechi again until November of 2019, where I found out this story. She said, "Clifton, I am so excited I ran into you. I've been wanting to tell you that I actually bought my first home." I said, "Girl, get out of here." She said, "No." I said, "Girl." I high-fived her, hugged her. And here's what she did. She went to the program in June, and then for the next 3 months, what she did, she just got her credit straight. She decided that she was tired of renting. She was paying too much in rent. And she said, "I'm going to go ahead and get this house. I'm just going to follow the process that you're seeing on the screen right now, which is the 11-step process that the real estate agent went through." So she decided that she wasn't going to rent anymore. That was step number one. She didn't get with the real estate agent then, but she did get with some people to help her create her, improve her credit score, basically. Not quite sure who she worked with, but what she did, but I'll tell you that there's some links on the very bottom in the description. If you want some resources on where to go to improve your credit score, I'm going to assist you with that as well, so just stick with me. But she improved her credit score for the next 3 months, and then in October and November, she started working with a professional to start looking at homes. So that professional helped her identify her goals, went through a lending agency to see what she qualified for to get pre-approved, and in February of 2019, she bought her first home. So you know I had to go check it out. So in November or December, I got with my boys with AE Media Group, and we took a road trip. And so we checked out her home, and you're looking at that now. It was exciting to see her. She was so happy in her first home, happy as could be. And today, she's a business coach. She's no longer a recruiter for the company that she was working for in 2018. She's a successful business coach that helps Christian women learn how to grow and build online businesses. So she's thriving and doing very well now. So Mechi, thank you for being an inspiration and an example of what's possible, and being an example of what the Empower Series is all about, really giving you hope, inspiration, education, and connection to resources to keep moving to achieve your goal. So if you're thinking right now that I do want to buy a home, wherever you are, I'm going to tell you some preparatory steps you can take before you start this home buying process so that it's manageable. Because it can be daunting, this process of buying a home. But if you do these 4 things in advance, you will be able to manage that process and be successful just like Mechi. So step number 1 when it comes to preparing for the home buying process is really know your credit score. Know where you stand from a credit perspective, and then take some steps to improve it. So if you look at the link here, there's a link that you can go to get your credit report. It's called annualcreditreport.com. Go to that link and you can get your credit report for the 3 major credit reporting agencies, which is Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Go ahead and get those 3 reports, take a look at them, and don't worry if you don't understand what they mean, because the next step I would recommend to you is to get with a certified credit counselor. The certified credit counselor can step you through the process, and there's 2 that I'm going to recommend. One is with a company called Money Management International. The second one is called the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. So those 2 organizations are 2 nonprofit organizations that provide free services when it comes to reviewing your credit report. So the first step is to go to this website, annualcreditreport.com, and go through the process of requesting your credit report. They allow you to get a credit report every year prior to COVID-19, but now they're allowing you to get a free credit report every 7 days. So definitely no excuse for you not to know where you are with your credit report or what's on there. And then I would say contact Money Management International, and then contact the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, and their numbers are on the screen. The numbers for Money Management International is 866-889-9347. You can go to their website, moneymanagement.org, and check out all of the other services. But definitely, I would say the first step is to call that number and schedule a consultation with a credit counselor. They'll do a soft run on your credit, so it's not going to impact your credit at all. But you'll have your credit report in front of you, and they can talk about each item on your credit report to explain to you what it is, as well as if it's derogatory, what you can do to fix it. Then the next number is the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, which is 800-338-2227. They will provide the same services, and those numbers are 24/7. Definitely call them. So the action is to educate yourself, inform yourself of what's on your credit report, get some advice from a certified credit counselor to know what's on your credit report and what your options are. And then if you need to dispute them, there's a link here too that says, hey, how do I dispute things on my credit report? You can do it 3 ways. You can actually do it online, you can call them, or you can actually mail them a letter. And in this link down here, there's a form letter that's pretty straightforward. You just, the letters are formed, and you just put in there your specific information, the the mark that you're disputing, and you include the evidence that supports your position, and the reporting debtor will have to justify that that's accurate. So here's what you can do. You can dispute things that are wrong. You can also dispute things that are correct, but if it's correct, it's just going to be added back on your report. So if you just go ahead and dispute the things that are wrong or in error, that's the first step. The last step on the credit journey of improving your credit score is to really know what impacts your credit score. So what you're looking at now are the areas of significant impact, and I'm going to address those to you real quick. The first one is payment history. You want to make sure that you're paying your bills on time. 35% of your report is based on your historical payments. There's no way of getting that any better besides just paying on time. If you've paid late before, that's the past. Start now and be on time. A big part of that is doing a budget, but we're going to talk about that later. But 35% of your credit score is based upon historical payments. Now, if you've made some bad payments and that's the way it is, in time it will get better, because negative things can be reported on your credit report for around 7 years, 10 years if it's a bankruptcy. But if they're wrong, definitely want to dispute them. So that's 35% your payment history. The next part is your credit utilization. And this is where if you have available credit of, let's say, a $5,000 credit card bill, and you're charged up to $4,000, that's going to be looked at negatively. So you want to make sure that if you're charging on a credit card bill that you're not using more than 30% of the available credit. You want to stay below it, and definitely want to just make sure if you're charging on a credit card, ideally you can pay it off at the end of the month. You really don't want to carry a balance, because what that does, it makes everything that you're purchasing more expensive, and we don't want to go there. So definitely use credit wisely. If you don't have a balance on your credit card bill, I would say just go ahead and charge, and don't charge anything more than what you can pay off at the end of the month. But if you already have a balance, don't charge on that card what you can't pay off, and then start on a systematic basis of paying off that credit card bill. If you want more detail, you can look at our playlist on managing credit, understanding your credit score and credit reports, and that is available as well on our playlist. And you can look at the programs that we go into more detail of the different strategies that you can use. So your payment history and your credit utilization are two areas, and the credit utilization takes up 30% or impacts 30% of your credit score. So already 65% of your credit score is based upon things that you can use, that you have access to, is your payment history and your ability to not overcharge. The rest of the three things that impact your credit score are things that you can control as well. So they are your length of credit history. So the longer you've had credit history, the better it is. So if you have any old cards that you've paid off, you might want to use a little bit of it to keep it a little bit active and just pay it off, don't carry a balance. But the longer you keep those cards, the better your credit history is. So you don't want to close cards that are unnecessary to close. New cards. If you apply for new cards, that's another impact on your credit score of 10%. The length of credit in history was 15%. The 10% for new cards is like if you open up a card, new accounts for a short period of time, that can hurt you. And then lastly is your credit mix. So whether you have a car note, credit card, a mortgage, installment loan, things of that, if you have a mix of different types of credit, that's always good for you. That's beneficial for you as well. And that impacts your credit score 10%. So those are the areas that are really important, but all of this stuff, again, is available for you in the description, so you don't really have to take notes. You can revert back to this video if you want, but those are the things that I would suggest you do, which is step one of a first step process to make sure that you are preparing for the home buying process. Know your credit score and improve your credit score. So step number two is knowing how much of a home that you can afford. And there's a difference between what you can afford and what you can be qualified for. Most lenders are going to look at this. They're going to look at what is your debt to income ratio. So the debt to income ratio is calculated here on the screen. When they look at your debt to income ratio, they want to look at your gross income. So that's your income before you have any taxes or deductions taken out. Then they also want to look at your debt payments, which are your credit card payments, your car loan payments, your student loan payments, as well as anything that you're paying for your home. So at this point, if you're renting, you can include your rent there. And they want to make sure that your debt to income ratio is not greater than 40%. In some cases, they might want to look at ideally 36%, but everybody's a little bit different. They might have a different number. At the end of the day, the lower that number is, the better, and the easier it is probably for you to qualify for a loan. But the biggest thing for you to do is to calculate how much of a home can you afford? And for that, you probably have a lot of questions, because when you look at the cost of a home, if this is the first time you've purchased a home, you may not know all of the costs that are involved, because it's more than just your principal and interest payments for paying back the mortgage of what you're borrowing to purchase that home. It would also include property taxes. It will also include an estimate for homeowners insurance. And if you haven't put down 20% for the purchase of that home, you don't have a conventional loan, you may be paying what's called mortgage insurance. So all of those things and other types of costs for maintenance, upkeep, and things of that goes into whether you can afford a home. And to do that, you have to educate yourself. So I'm going to give you two resources. A couple of resources. The one resource you can do either online on your own, self-paced, or you can actually go through it, and I'll give you a user guide where you can actually go through it and do calculations for your own specific situation. But that user guide is normally given to you in an instructor-led course. But if you have any questions with any of this stuff, you can always email the Empower Series at thrive@empowerseries.com and just connect with us on our social media accounts, add a comment, and we'll get back to you immediately. But the first resource I'm going to give you to help you calculate how much of a home you can afford is all of the resources that are provided by the FDIC. So if you Google FDIC Money Smart Program, you will see that there's a ton of curriculum out there that talks about how you can increase your financial literacy. And part of that is purchasing a home. If you go to this website that's in the description here, and you're looking at it on screen right now, you go to this website, you can actually register for an online course. So whether you go through the online course or you go through the user guide that I'm giving you, the objectives are going to be the same. And they're going to cover these objectives. They're going to go through and identify the steps in the home buying process. They will also explain to you how do you know if you're even ready to buy a home. They'll identify ways for you to calculate the estimates of how much of a home you can afford by looking at, again, not just your debt payments, but how much you're paying for rent. What are the other costs that would be included if you no longer rent, but you're actually purchasing a home, like maintenance costs and things of that nature. They will give you an example of what those costs are so that you can determine for yourself how much you can afford. They'll also describe the home financing process and the key costs associated with that. They'll explain how do you get pre-qualified versus pre-approved for a mortgage. So there is a difference. They will discuss and compare loan estimates. They'll give you examples and how to explain the role of different professionals that's going to be involved in the home buying process. They'll describe the process of making an offer, negotiating the offer with the seller, as well as closing for the purchase. And they'll identify where do you go to get help if you have trouble making your mortgage payments because you're already in a mortgage. So there's a lot of information that's going to be given to you. So I'm giving you, with the FDIC program, one way to get it on your own with a computer-based program, self-paced, or I'll give you a user guide that you can go through and use the worksheets. It's going to calculate what debt to income ratio is. It's going to do a lot of other things to help you go through and really determine how much of a home can you afford versus how much of a home that you can actually get approved for. In most cases, you may be able to qualify for a home that's $400,000 to $500,000. But when you look at what you can actually afford, it may be something more in the range of $250,000 or $300,000. You need to know that difference. So that's step number one. The other step in this process of really knowing how much of a home you can afford is to use the HUD programs. So HUD has a resource, has counselors that can help you go through the process, and they also have a first-time home buyers course. The first thing I would like you to do is go to this website, and the website is in the link, but it's hud.gov, and search for first-time home buyers. What they'll provide you is a link where, and I'm showing you the link right now, where you can go and actually identify what are the HUD-approved agencies that provide these courses, as well as where can you find a HUD counselor to go through the process if you want to talk to a person. And all of this stuff is free. It doesn't cost you anything. And you're working with people who are not in a position where they have what we call a conflict of interest, meaning that they're giving you this advice, but this advice is tied to the fact that this is how I get paid. So you have, with HUD, you're already paying for these employees because you pay taxes. And for these nonprofit organizations, we have donors that have provided us with the resources to provide this information free to you so that you don't have to worry about coming out of your pocket and you know that there's no conflict of interest. We're not giving you this advice because we're getting paid or we're going to make some money in the home buying process. We just want to make sure that you are positioning yourself to achieve the American dream, put yourself in a position where you can grow your equity and your worth and pass that on to your future generations. So for the second step is to really identify and know to your specific situation what you can afford versus what you can qualify for. So step number 1, get your credit straight. Step number 2, know how much you can afford. Step number 3 will be save, baby, save. And that's easier said than done. If you click on the links below, we have a ton of programs that we've done on financial literacy, budgeting, how can you find money to save, what happens when your income goes down and your expenses go up. So there's a lot of different things in there where you can get some pointers, but I'm going to point out some areas where you can go. Number 1 is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the Federal Trade Commission have useful resources for those interested in learning more about ways to save. So click on this link. It talks about how you can make a budget. It talks about, smart ways to start saving small. And for the saving information, you can go to www.consumerfinance.gov, or to make a budget, you can go to www.consumer.ftc.gov. So those are 2 resources that you definitely want to take advantage of. The other resource I told you about was the HUD locations, and this website that you're looking at now is where you can put in your state and then identify the authorized HUD agencies in your location. Definitely take advantage of any of the down payment programs that they have, down payment and closing cost assistance programs that's offered by these government agencies or nonprofit organizations. Be sure again to take the time to research and see what you qualify for in these specific programs. But the information is all available for you. You just have to take the time to look. And like I said before, you go to this website and you can identify by state the HUD approved housing counseling agencies that are within your area. It's www.hud.gov. And the other thing I would suggest is going to the FDIC modules. So if you go to the FDIC modules that I shared with you before, there are modules on saving and budgeting. And so the resources are out there. You just got to search and find it. So 3 steps again. Number 1, you've got to make sure that you're increasing your credit score. There's resources to help you do that. Number 2, know how much you can afford versus how much you qualify for. And then save, baby, save. And there are some resources out there that are provided by the government that's free, as well as the FDIC and the Empower series, nonprofit organizations that can help you. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave a comment and to ask. The last step I would tell you is to get organized. And what I mean by getting organized is this. When you've done the first 3 steps, at some point in the process, you're going to talk to a mortgage officer or a lending agent. And at that point, they're going to want to know some information. They're going to want to know your income. They're going to want to know some of your debt situation, your any liabilities you have, as well as any other assets you have when it comes to your savings account, your investments, retirement accounts, and things of that nature. They want to know where's the money going to come from to buy the house. So I would tell you to organize some things. Get your most current paycheck stubs to support your income. And so if you get paid a commission, they might want to look at an average for that. But if you get paid a regular salary, they might want to look at the last 2 or 3 paycheck stubs. They may want to look at your bank statements. They may want to look at also, I talked about your debt. So any other loans that you may have, you may want to get the statements together for that. If you are self-employed, and even if you're not self-employed, they might want to look at previous tax returns. So start organizing that information. And there's an easy way of doing that. There's some things on the screen that you're looking at now of the types of documents that I'm going to suggest that you get, and begin to keep those in order. And if you do these 4 steps way before you actually start engaging in the home buying process, you will be better prepared. It will make that process manageable for you. And the most valuable thing I think that will be very beneficial for you is going to these classes. So definitely register for a HUD class, as well as take the FDIC computer-based program class on home buying, and look at the participant guide for the FDIC home buying process. And if you have any questions whatsoever, do not keep them to yourself. Reach out to the Empower Series through our social media accounts, through our email at thrive@empowerseries.com if you have any questions. One of the questions you may have is, what if you're currently in a mortgage right now, and because of the pandemic, you're having a hard time making your mortgage payments, or for any reason, you're having a hard time making your mortgage payments, you can apply for forbearance. It is not automatic. You've got to apply for it. And what a forbearance is basically is where you are entering an agreement with your mortgage servicer or your mortgage company. And what they've done is they've agreed to either postpone your payments or reduce your payments for a period of time to get you back on your feet financially. Like I said before, it's not automatic. So here are the 5 steps you need to do to make sure that you're taking advantage and you're not missing out on any assistance. Step number 1 is find out who your servicer is. So once you identify who your servicer is, step number 2 would be to call them. And when you call them, let them know that you're having some trouble financially and because of the pandemic. And step number 3 would be then to have them explain to you what you are eligible for. You may be eligible for some of the benefits through the CARES Act, or there's some of the benefits that they have right now when they have other people going through hardship. And once they've explained that to you, make sure step number 4 is that you understand specifically what the program is and you're comfortable with it. Once you're comfortable with the program that they're offering you, step number 5 will be to accept it. So those are the 5 steps. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can go to this website, consumerfinance.gov/housing. There you can get a ton of additional resources. The link is down below. There's a lot of information we covered. We didn't have enough time to go into a lot of detail, but if you go through the description section below the video, you'll get additional information, download the PDF, and like I said before, don't let this be the last time we talk. Stay connected with us. I'm going to leave you with this. Dr. George Fraser says that nothing of significance can ever be done alone. We were born to work together in a common bond, in a common spirit of caring and sharing. And building relationships is the most important thing when it comes to your life. With that being said, I do not want you to be alone. You're not alone. We're here to help you. I'm going to close out by you listening to Dr. George Fraser talk about it himself. But until then, I want you to be empowered and inspired to thrive.
Collaboration and teamwork, networking. I defined networking 23 years ago with a simple definition. Networking is the identification and the building of relationships for the purpose of sharing information, opportunities, and resources. And the emphasis on that definition, brothers and sisters, is on building relationships and sharing. Why? Because all of life is about relationships. All of life is about working with and through other people. There is no success that you can attain, sustain, or maintain on your own by yourself in a vacuum. It is just not possible, especially if you are in business. Most of us here are in some sort of business, whether we are employed by someone else, or we are an employer, or we're working for ourselves. We're in some form of business. So in case no one has ever told you this, let me tell you this. Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in is in the business of building relationships. That's the business that you are in. I believe that the most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century will not be your computer. I'm sorry, I don't care what you've read. It will be your relationships. Why? Because relationship building ultimately drives all entrepreneurship. It drives all job searches. It drives all upward mobility in the public-private sector workplace. Relationship building, networking drives organization building, community building, and nation building. All of those things are inherently networking initiatives. That it is your ability to shape the scope of your search for human resources and bring them to bear on your challenges and opportunities in life is what will ultimately determine your level of excellence or success in life. It's all about relationships. And you thought it was about education. Now, don't get it twisted. Education is profoundly important. but it's not enough.
Thank you for watching our Empower Series YouTube video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Remember to hit the subscribe button below, as well as the little button to be notified the next time we upload our video. Until then, stay connected with us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever your social media flavor is. Inspire the world to thrive. See you soon.